What's up, guys? We're at the end of our 3-day boot camp trip in Costa Rica. Pretty awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Pretty tired.
Well, you know, when you say yes to Mark Williams, you're in for a bit of an adventure.
Yeah.
So
You never know.
I've heard of sunrise workouts, but sunset workouts are new one for me. So thanks for letting me check that off my list.
you know, that was pretty good. I'm Mark Williams. I'm the owner of Mark Williams Custom Homes and creator of the Curious Builder and Curious Builder Bootcamp. And it was funny because 21 years ago, 22 now, this spring, Pella said, "Hey, I think you better put Pella in your homes." And it's been 2 decades now. And every time I come up with a new idea, when I started the Curious Builder platform, 3.5, 4 years ago, Pella's like, "Let's do it together." And last year I said, you know what, I want to do something around the health and wellness space with Misahus, our spec home that we're doing in Bay and Cottagewood, Minnesota. And I said, you know what, why don't we do a boot camp and see who wants to prioritize that in their life as well. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. So so far, what has been your highlights here at boot camp in Costa Rica?
Canyoneering down a waterfall, that was amazing. Fellowship around the 5th floor here as the sun sets, after we're full, having just absolute real conversations.
I think for me, it's being around like-minded individuals that push themselves to a different level, getting to know new people, and we did a lot of team stuff, sports, competitions, and just the relationships that will probably come out of that long term.
The team aspect is interesting because obviously we're builders, and you obviously are with Pella, a longtime partner of ours, and it's like, when Brad and I are picking partners, it's really important. Yeah, in this case, we did random out of the hat, right? So our competition is, but that's true of a job site. That's true of life. Sometimes, you are dealt, actually every single home is dealt one, if not multiple curveballs. And to me, the team you go into battle with is the most important thing, and the products we put in our homes. And, obviously you and I both really prioritize and love wellness for our personal lives. And so, for me to be able to blend the things that I love personally to also include it in your profession. And I think it's only beginning to what we're doing. Like, we're doing a soft pivot that pretty much every home that we do will revolve around wellness. It'll be interesting to see how our clients interact with it, and we'll meet our clients where they want to go. But I'm really excited about the future and having other owners from around the country, and even we had some from Canada, come and say like they want to employ the things that they're learning and the people that they're meeting and really take that back and put into their business. Tells me that this is kind of the next gen of where I would like to go and where I think the country could potentially go as well.
It's so critically important. I think that wellness being prioritized amongst the masses, right? The shift that's occurred, I think we're here. It's not something that, is coming. We're already seeing it, much like you. And Mises was an absolute inspiration as a builder for me, seeing it from afar. And I know I'm going to come and see it soon. But, we've taken from that, right? And just incorporated our own unique take on that, and thinking about how we've created the Bradford elemental system to focus on air and water and light, the things that we can control inside of the building. I think about how important it is, because I'm truly trying to get that house to perform in such a way that it allows me to perform, allows my clients to perform. And for those people who are looking for the absolute pinnacle of what performance looks like, I want to be there to serve them. And so, a little like you, thank you. I know that imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right? So I'm going to give you a little props there. You've always been an inspiration in that. And it's one of the many reasons that I'm here, personally. This is my life. Again, this is not, I don't come here as some form of marketing ploy. That'd be punishment in the greatest form in the way that you've worked us this week. So thank you for that. Or rather, Addison, you just gave us somebody to follow. So thanks for that.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things that's neat about Costa Rica in particular, it wasn't why I picked it, but it's obviously very much in line with wellness. I mean, Costa Rica, today when we were out in the jungle, it's like the river we were whitewater rafting on yesterday, and then canyoneering today is the clearest river that they have in their country. And, everyone's remarked on the fruit. And it's also like, how close is it to where we're actually eating it from where it's harvested and grown. And everyone has remarked about how fresh and how good they feel. And, I guess to make that leap to the products that we're picking, Maya Angelou has one of my favorite quotes, and it's a very famous one, is that people forget what you say, but they never forget how they're made to feel. And I think the homes, a lot of times people don't know the products that we as builders are putting in our homes. When they come through our home, they're like, this feels different. And I know I can speak for myself, like, I don't need them to know all the things that I put in. I'll tell them if they ask. The highest compliment I can get is that this feels different, that there's something different about it. They don't even know how to articulate the words. It's kind of like watching a sunset, Addison, who's our trainer, came up one night and I was just like looking at the sunset for like 10 minutes, not a thought in my mind. He's like, what are you thinking about? I'm like, absolutely nothing. And but there's like this, you could be in a home and you could be just content in that moment. And I would be totally at peace with that client's response, in the homes that we build. And so I love nature. It gives me a lot of ideas. And so anyway, that's kind of what, as I look around from an environment standpoint, like when I go back, how can I elicit some of these feelings that we see in nature and put them into the home?
I've been on this journey for, a little over a year. The last 6 months really honed in on developing the concept of how I would translate it, right? How do I take that from here to there? I spent some great time in Kauai and now here, and I did just the same. I was like, how do we take this feeling that we chase after and how do we make it commonplace in the place that we go to every day? We're asking of our home to provide us a sense of calm, provide us a place of reprieve where we can rejuvenate in the greatest way that we can, right? And so products are incredibly important, products and systems, specifically, and a kind of great segue into the type of windows that we use, right? For instance, is we have to choose quality specifically there because that is where most of air penetration can come into the home, and we need a manufacturer that knows how to do it and do it well, and that's someone that I don't have to think twice about, right? So when I think about that, I'm like, well, I know how the wood's treated. I've been to the factory. I understand that uniquely well. I understand how they make their IG units. I know that uniquely well. I know how it gets from A to B, from basically source to completion. There's just not another brand that I trust in this way. And much like you said, it's like you're not trying to let your clients know that, but there comes a time where it's like that yellow dot means a lot.
There's part of it's a story like at Misa, who's, we've got triple pane windows, and it's actually the first home I've ever done in my 22-year career. And now I've got 3 of my next 4 clients that have triple pane windows. And, it's interesting because they are very energy efficient, but that's actually not the number one reason why they're doing it. They're doing it for the quiet. They're doing it for peace. And, when you're in a natural environment, one of the things that stands out to me when you're out of an urban environment is how quiet it gets at night. When we were at Curious Builder Bootcamp in Zion National Park, which is our last one, we went from the desert and mountains to the ocean in Costa Rica, and so we'll see what happens next. But it's always, that's, I think, one of nature's most beautiful things. When the lights go down and it gets quiet, nature actually turns up the volume. Like right now we can hear the cicadas and, we heard the howler monkeys in the morning. And it's like, you just become much more in tune with your surroundings because there's an absence of like this ambient noise. And so you tune into, kind of just a different type of sound.
Absolutely. It is biological, right? Like we need to settle down at night. If those things are ever present in the background, you're just not capable of doing that. And so it's a disruptor, and to be able to rely on those techniques and that technology, it has to be a part of the equation when we're developing and engineering these.
And you mentioned when we were early on in development of Misa's, working with the architect and the importance of light. We all enjoy that. You go to sleep, you wake up, that gives you energy. Can you talk a little bit about the design of light coming in the home, as well as, you use Steady Set, which is safety of employees that work for you or for us that install that product. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, light is, I think most builders would say, and architects too, that light has always been something that most would design around. I think with Misu's particularly, it's set straight south. Like, even the place that we happen to be staying in, right there, the ocean is right over here. And in the morning, and then you have your sunrise and your sunset. There's a reason why people want to watch that. They want the sun. We feel a natural attraction towards that. So you definitely want to consider that. How does it make you feel? How does it heat and cool the home? And so, you have to kind of consider all of that. And then as far as Steady Set goes, I mean, it's an incredible innovation. You know, it's been a couple of years now since it won, I think, #1 innovation at the International Builder Show. And I've seen our install crews when they use it, because there's no other window that has that. The remark about like, this is amazing. Like, you know, I mean, I remember all the stats. This isn't a Steady Set plug, but it's like, you know, how much more safer it is for the people doing it. And, you know, anytime that you can have not something that's only safe and repeatable, but also just better for the people in the industry that you work with. Because it's not, well, we would love to prioritize just our health and wellness, but how about the whole ecosystem, everyone in who does the work, from the factory workers to the people doing it. And so I think as you partner with people, that's why values matter. That's why I think relationships matter. So even if you don't know anything else, if you know a person, you know that at the end of the day, like if Brad calls me and says, I'm doing this, like a lot of times I don't need to know all the other things about it, because I know Brad very well. And so I can trust his judgment. And so because I've had a multi-decade career with Pella Corporate, Pella Northland, and just for pretty much everyone at Pella, like, you know, I get to just call anyone I want and just have a conversation, and helps me make decisions. Yeah. Thank you for your support here.
Thanks for being good customers. That loyalty to last decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're trying to build. So,
Well, we'll see you at next boot camp.
yeah. Well, depends on where it is. I'm in a lot of pain.
Start training now.
I will.
Well, that was a short one.
Yeah.